right, let's bow our heads and let's have a prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for the delicious lunch that we had and for the walk in the fresh air that we were able to get. I just pray that as we come and listen to your words and your wisdom, I just pray for your Holy Spirit. Open our minds, clear our head, and help us to be able to understand all of this, and that we can glorify you in our body. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. So sunshine, I'm going to share a little insight into why we need sunshine. You might probably know a lot of it, but hopefully there'll be some new things that you can gain and that can benefit you when you go home. Okay, a lot of us understand sun in many negative effects, right? There's a lot of information out there that sun is not good for you, skin cancer, and for those of us who have lighter skin, we're more skin conscious because when we go out in the sun, we get the freckles, the darkening of the skin, and we get told if you go out in the sun, you have to cover because it gives you more wrinkles, causes aging. And then, which is, all of this is valid because we've seen the effects of it and the heat of it and the bleaching of the skin as well. So even our clothes, people have told me, like, don't put your furniture too close to the window. It will bleach your carpet when the sun shines on it. And so you've seen older houses where there's like a line from where the window has shone on it and it's bleached it. So it does have bleaching effects. And these are all very valid because we've all heard about it, we've seen it, we know people who've experienced these. You see people who have experienced, like, you know, what do you call that, heat stroke, and then they pass out, get very sick from it, and we know people who've had extreme skin cancer. But I'm not saying for you to, again, anything in excess can have negative effects. So what we're seeing is when we do things too extreme without temperance, we do see these effects. Of course, if we're standing out in the sun all day long, every day, without any covering or without any consciousness, yes, we will develop the skin cancer. And the skin darkening, freckles, aging, that's not really a big deal. That's more for beauty. And bleaching and heat, if we're very careful, bleaching is not such a bad thing if we're not too anal about our furniture and all of that. Like I think Joy mentioned a few days ago, what the sun does is the radio waves, from radioactive waves, can actually kill bacteria and viruses. So that bleaching may not necessarily be bad. Okay, but it's not all bad. So there's good news that the sun was not created by God to kill us, but there's more benefits than there are negatives. We need the sun to make vitamin D. So those of us who put a lot of sunscreen on, you cannot produce vitamin D with sunscreen. It blocks that production on your skin, going in through your skin and being made for your bones, and prevention of osteoporosis. So I think yesterday or the other day we talked about a little bit about your bone health with calcium and phosphorus. So another component of calcium and phosphorus for bone health is vitamin D. They all work. So vitamin D is a hormone that activates the building of bone of phosphorus and calcium. So without your vitamin D, it cannot make the right hormones to be able to produce and to build up your bone of calcium and phosphorus. So you need that vitamin D before you even have that calcium and that phosphorus. The sun metabolism, melatonin, if we're out in the sun, it can increase your melatonin at night and you have a good night's rest, right? So it regulates your sleep patterns. When you go out during the day, your melatonin comes down. When you go to bed at night, it comes out when the sun is gone. So you need to have that regularity, especially for people who have insomnia. People who work night shift have a lot of problems with sleeping because they don't get any sun, because they're in the house sleeping during the day and they're at work during the night. And when they actually come out of their night shift, they have a lot of problems with insomnia. And how to correct that is to make sure you're outside in the sun to decrease that melatonin in the daytime. And then when the sun goes down, it will naturally increase that melatonin. A lot of mental health is related to melatonin, because if you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well. If you're not eating well, you feel depressed and you're overeating or you're undereating. A lot of problems related to sleep and can cause a lot of mental health. A lot of people who have depression and anxiety, they don't like to go outside. That's the devil's trap. He doesn't want you to go outside because he knows that that sun is going to give you decrease that melatonin, and high amounts of melatonin is not good for long amounts of time. Why? Because it does make you sleepy and depressed and very sad. So we do not want constantly, I know people who buy melatonin pills and they take those constantly. You don't want to get too dependent on that, because it does change up your sleep patterns and your cycles, especially when you're not taking it properly. So we do know, have you all heard of the disease jaundice in young babies when they're born? It affects the liver, and they found that with jaundice, the best way is to lay your baby out in the sun. Take off all his clothes. All my 4 kids had jaundice. So the best thing we did was take him home. We took off all his clothes, and when he took a nap, he would lie there, not even with his nappy on. He'd just lie there totally naked for the 15-20 minutes, and we'd take him out of the sun because we didn't want him to get sunburned. But the morning sun, the radioactive waves actually breaks down that bile or the jaundice, and then it goes into the liver, and the liver can process it and eliminate it. So jaundice is basically the liver cannot break down this enzyme. So then skin diseases like eczema, dermatitis, ringworm, most of it can be cured with specific amounts of time in the sun without any creams on it. So if you're going to treat any of these, especially ringworm or fungus, sitting out in the sun without any creams after you've showered or cleaned your skin off bare, sitting out in the sun, that can clear up that ringworm and the dermatitis and some eczema, depending on what your specific allergy is. Relieving arthritis pains, of course, it relates back to your vitamin D, your hormones, and then boosting your energy levels. So you find when there's lots of sun, all of us has more energy. We're like, yay, the sun. We go out, we get very happy. So the sun boosts your happiness. It just does that. So what's so good about light? Light is essential to all life. I mean, God gave us light. It's a constant energy to sustain all life. So sun is required. Without sun, you would not have trees, you wouldn't have plants, you wouldn't have flowers, you wouldn't have life. So life to exist on earth requires the sun. It keeps the earth warm. It's needed for plants. And for us, we need it to survive, and we need the plants to eat to survive. So is the sun vital? It's important, very, very important for us. The visual light keeps our body clock in sync. So when you travel and you go to another part of the world, what happens to your body? You go, ooh, the jet lag, vertigo. And then we wake up in the middle of the night, where are we? What are we doing? So it throws your whole body off, and you feel horrible for those few days. And what is the best way to get over your jet lag is to go out in the sun and follow that sun cycle. And that sun cycle will decrease your melatonin. And then when the sun goes down, your body adjusts very quickly when you adjust to that. But there's people who will take weeks to get over it because they just say, oh, I'm tired, I'm going to go sleep. It's 3 a.m. in California, I better go to sleep now. So they never get over it. But forcing yourself to go out in the sun can readjust that. The infrared light from the sun, it boosts your energy in the mitochondrial, where your DNA and all your cells, it opens it up and gives it its energy boost. And the UV light, again, gives us the production of vitamin D.
So is the sun infrared light?
Hmm?
When you said infrared light boosts in the mitochondria.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking about the sun,
Yeah.
infrared light. Is that
Yes.
infrared light, is it?
Yes, from the sun.
Does that mean infrared light means heat light? Is that what
Yes.
it means?
So the light and the rays from the sun. So if you study the sun's rays, they have different components of UV light and different levels of the infrared light that comes in. We need all of those different components. Sunlight in the ocean, if you know where the light shines in the ocean is where life thrives. You don't see life in the deep, dark ocean unless there's some scary, crazy animals down in the deep bottom that don't need the light, which God has created. But most life thrives. Seaweed, the coral, the beautiful colors of the fish, they all need light. The light keeps the ocean clean. It kills the bacteria in the ocean. And unfortunately, there's not enough sun to kill all the bacteria that we put into, and all the chemicals we put into the ocean. But it's there. It's necessary for water life as it is much for earth or plant or the land life. Sunlight for life. Plants need sunlight to grow. Without sunlight, we have no food. Without sunlight, we would die. And without sunlight, the earth would be void of life. And if you go into the deep, dark caves, you see no life. So where you see there's no sunlight, even if you took a plant, I mean, for our kids' experiment, we take a plant and we put it and cover it and put it in the cupboard, and we take one and put it in light, and we know what will thrive, what won't, just without the light. You can water it, you can put your nutrients, it won't grow if there's no light. The same with us. Sunlight on Earth. Earth was created by God with just enough distance from the sun. If we believed in evolution, it banged just far enough to give us life. But I believe that God created it just right so that we wouldn't burn, and enough to be able to provide the greenery that we see all around us, the plants that we eat, the fruits that we have, and the fish in the ocean that survive. If not, life cannot be sustained, and I don't believe that this is a mistake, right? So sunshine and bacteria, about 12% of bacteria is alive in the air in our home. So right now, as we sit here, we can't see it in the microbacteria. We can see it, it's everywhere. It floats, it's in your furniture, it's in anything that we touch, there's bacteria. And they say about average 12% live bacteria is constantly all around us. But did you know if bacteria is exposed to UV sunlight, direct sunlight, every day, it reduces its bacteria by 8%. Dust kept in dark contained organisms closely related to species associated with respiratory diseases. So anyone who's got asthma or allergies to dust, all of those things, open your windows, open your curtains, let the sun in, let it kill the bacteria in the home. Don't worry about your furniture bleaching. That's not important as it is for your health. Keep that open, especially when you wake up in the morning, have all those windows and those doors and the fresh air coming in and the sunlight coming in. It will boost your energy. So if you're going through stress, the sunlight coming in does a big difference. Okay? One of the doctors who did this study in the Science News says humans spend most of their time indoors where exposure to dust particles that carry a variety of bacteria, including pathogens that can make us sick, is unavoidable. We all live in buildings. Unless you want to sleep outside, we're not going to be able to avoid the growth of bacteria in our homes. Therefore, it is important to understand how features of the buildings we occupy influence dust ecosystems. So we are a breeding ground for dust and bacteria, and how this could affect our health. So open your windows, open your curtains again, always keep them open during the day, air out that air and keep that sunshine coming in to clean your home. You don't need all these anti-whatever sprays to spray in the air. You just need to open your window, let the sun in, and that's a natural disinfectant for your home. Yeah. UV light your home. UV light and bacteria. UV light is a natural disinfectant. We use it. I know Japanese and Koreans, they UV light their dishes and their water. And even in dental clinics, they have all their instruments cleaned with water and this special UV thing that they have. And it's true. It's used to clean drinking water even in hospitals. Used to clean our dishes. And so UV light, if you use it naturally, why would we pay for it? All your clothes, hang them outside, get that UV light on it, clean off all that bacteria. And it reduces the airborne illnesses. So if you have a flu in your home and if you catch a cold, let that sun come in on your family, sit in the sun. It will clear all that bacteria and all the air around you from you and your family and from spreading it. And when you get better, don't keep your doors closed. Open them. Clean it with your sun. So vitamin D is not produced by the body. It's not found abundantly in food. So you cannot, unless, I know a lot of people take vitamin D supplements, but I can tell you a cheaper way. It'll save you lots of money. Go out in the sun. Do you know 80 to 90% of vitamin D is produced from just standing in the sun? And it's essential to aid in calcium and phosphorus regulation. You don't have to buy the pills. You don't have to be in the sunlight every day to get this, but at least 2 to 3 times a week to be able to get that. And especially those who live in very cold regions, because we wear heavy jackets when we go out, and through the clouds if it's a cloudy day. But the minute you see sun, run out. My mom, she has problems with sleeping at night. So whenever she sees the sun in the winter, she'll go out in her underwear in her backyard and she'll garden in her underwear. Oh no, it's recorded. We might need to cut that out. I don't know if she'll like that. But that's what she does. And she notices that when she gets enough sun, even on a cloudy day, the UV rays can come through the clouds and she still sleeps better at night and she still can get her vitamin D production through that. You don't have to take the supplements. We are an industry where we want the quick fix.
Don't cut it out, we need physical advice.
So vitamin D deficiency can be easily restored by exposure to sunlight. So if you are low in vitamin D, when most of us are, especially when we go through the cold winters, a lot of us don't want to go outside. And it's very important to make time for that, to stand outside when you go for your walk. Go for the walk when you see the sun coming out. And go intentionally, make it intentional to get that sun. And you don't need a long time. 15-20 minutes is all you need. And it's free. 6 days of casual sunlight. Casual means like you're just out for a walk and you've got your clothes on and it's just shining on your arms, on your face, on your neck, and maybe if you had shorts on your legs. Just a casual walk, casual sunlight exposure can restore your lost vitamin D up to the 49 days of no sunlight on your skin. And the extra vitamin D you have can be stored in fat stores and kept there. So in the summer when you do have it, go outside, enjoy the sun, and then hopefully that can carry you at least for some of the winter. And then when you do have in between those sunny days, go out during winter and get that sun. And again, we've spoken about this a few times, lack of vitamin D, calcium and phosphorus, osteoarthritis, osteoporosis. So osteoporosis is a much more complicated problem than what we think. We just think, I need to take my calcium, phosphorus, I need to take my vitamin D, I'm fixed. But we really need to have that well balance of all of that, and that only comes from God's way. And then it leads to poor bone health, brittle bone, and then when we're old, we have a lot of issues, and especially women, we have a lot of problems with that. So there's this story of this little girl in America. Her name is Danielle Crockett in California. And while she was a baby, her parents were very abusive to her, and they locked her in a closet. And she was in a confined space for 7 years of her life. They hid her away from society. She was not allowed to go out. They locked her in a closet. Thankfully, the police came and found her locked up in this closet, and she was tiny. She was 7 years old, and she was as big as a 4 or 5-year-old. She was, of course, failure to thrive. She had a lot of other issues, mental issues, everything. But 12 years later, they re-interviewed her, and she was 5'10". And what did they do? She said that she loves the outdoors. She spends as much time as she can outside, and especially being in the sun. And that has corrected her, and it has not affected her bone health, has not affected her vitamin D. So bone health can be corrected. Vitamin D can be restored. So if you go and the doctor tells you you're low in vitamin D, all you need to do is stand outside. You say, easy, go outside. If you're in your backyard, no one can see you, go down to your bikini or your underwear and just stand there and do some gardening, go for a walk around your backyard and get as much of that vitamin D in as you can. So it's free and an easy remedy. So it is not cow's milk or supplements that will cure your osteoporosis. It's not lots of pills of calcium, popping the calcium. I have seen people who take excessive amounts of this calcium and phosphorus, and it leads to kidney stones. And just having that balanced plant-based diet. If you're having the good oils, your olive oils, your avocados, your nuts and seeds, that already gives you a nice covering of protection on your skin. And it oils you, it gives you great supple skin if you're eating right. Exposure to sunlight will provide you enough vitamin D. You do not need any supplements or pills. I cannot emphasize that enough. The only thing you should be popping is fruits and vegetables, right? So how do we prevent osteoporosis? So especially for women, all of us have this concern. Right now, if you haven't hit 30, it's now time for you to build these strong, dense bones. Limit the amount of bone loss. Do a lot of bone, what do you call those? Build up your muscle strength. Weight training. Limit the amount of bone loss. Women now as young as 30 are getting osteoporosis. Why? Because of the amount of meat, the high amounts of calcium and not enough phosphorus, or high amounts of phosphorus and not enough calcium. That imbalance of the foods that we eat causes that bone loss. It doesn't matter how old you are. So many studies have shown that over and over again that high calcium intake does not lower the risk of osteoporosis. That is a fallacy. How do you prevent skin cancer? So the food that we eat also gives protection to our skin. Do you know our skin is our largest organ in the body? So foods high in seeds and nuts, all these oils that you eat, the food, the nuts and the seeds, that oil gives you a high vitamin A and vitamin E that protects the layer of your skin on the outside. So then when you're going out in the sun, vitamin A and E is what? An antioxidant. So it fights off any carcinogens. Now let's not take it too far and then, I'm going to eat some nuts and seeds. I can lie out in the sun, sunbake, suntan. We go to extreme. We sunbake because we think it's beautiful. So it's a cultural thing. Whereas in Asia, my mom will go out with an umbrella in Asia because she doesn't want to get dark. But in Australia and in America, we go out and lie in the sun because we want to get that tan. So it's cultural. And we do two extremes. So we use the sun for health. We use what God has given us to help us, not to the extreme. When we take refined oils, all the deep fried oils, all those oils, they don't protect your skin. So when you go out and you haven't had a good diet, you will burn easily. You will burn quicker. And you don't have that protection of the vitamin A and E, you will develop that skin cancer very quickly. So the question is, okay, so you've told us sun is good, but how much? It's different for everybody. Different to your skin tone is different. So the darker you are, of course, the longer you have to stay in the sun. The lighter skinned you are, the easier you burn, the less time you have to be in the sun. So you can gauge that. So I can tell you maybe 15 to 20 minutes, but if you can test that. If I'm in the sun for 15 minutes and I burned, then you know it's too excessive. Then you reduce that to 10 minutes. Okay, so you have to experiment with that, what your gauge is for how long you can be in the sun. Some people can be out in the sun for 2 hours and they don't burn. So it really depends on your skin type. Depends on your age as well. The younger you are, the more tolerant you are of the sun. Whereas as you get older, we burn more easily, right? And I think that has to do with our skin age as well. So we got to protect the aging skin. Our history with skin cancer, how sensitive your family is to the sun. And of course, your diet. So if you're not very healthy, your skin is also not healthy. So you will be more affected by the sun. And where you live. So if you live closer to where the sun is closer, like Australia, we all know that we are more prone to getting skin cancer because of the ozone layer and also where we are at. It's in the direct sunlight of the sun, right? As opposed to other areas. Like I know in Asia, the sun is not as strong as it is down here in Australia. So we've got to know where we live, and all of that information, we got to be very careful. So generally, we do about 5 to 15 minutes a day in the sun. So if you are walking, if you are going for your exercise 3 times a day, you're definitely getting enough sunlight, right? So up to 30 minutes a day is good too in the morning sun if you are darker skinned, and you can gauge that on your own. And your skin will tell you when it's too much, right? You will know when it gets too hot and you can feel your skin is going up into flames, then you know it's a bit too much and you need to go under some shade. You can bring an umbrella with you, or bring a hat. So when you've done your 10-15 minutes, when you've gone on your walk, put on that hat or put on that sweater when you know it's too much. Bring a light t-shirt or something with long sleeve that can cover your skin, just to give you that protection. And you know when you're sunburnt, that's too much, excessive. But usually your sunburn comes when you go out at the wrong times of day. So we know the strongest is during the early, after lunch, around that time, between 12 to 3. So we try to avoid those really hot, sunny days in the summer. So how should we start? If you haven't done this before, I would start with about 5 minutes a day and then gradually increase to that 15, 30 minutes. If you try to do the 30 minutes at one go, your skin might not be used to that and it might burn too easily. So start off with 5 minutes and then, Just notice, okay, I can do the 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, and then you should know where your gauge is. Okay, 15 minutes a day is good for me, or 10 minutes a day is good for me. So each person is different. And sunscreen does reduce the amount of vitamin D production. So if you know you're going to go to the beach with your friends, just if you need to have that sunscreen, do it. But the best is to put on that hat and really just cover yourself up if you don't want to put on those chemicals of the sunscreen. And the fact is, most people, or everyone these days, are vitamin D deficient. That's why it's so easy to buy vitamin D and calcium and phosphorus pills, because they sell. They'll tell you you're deficient. Go to the store and buy it. And the pharmaceuticals are loving it. So remember, everything in moderation. Skin burns. Remember to remind yourself, my skin does burn. It's an organ. And it will lead to skin cancer, and know your limits. Health before beauty. I'd rather you all be wrinkly but have strong bones when you're old. Have skin sagging to the ground, but you're strong. Okay, or to have beauty spots than to have compromised your bone health. So it's very important to have that sunlight. You might all need some sun now. You're all like...
Is sunscreen bad for you, like a face cream? Like, everyday moisturizer face cream kind of thing?
I'm not 100% sure. I haven't really researched too much into that, but I'm guessing it's not the best for you. And I think more of it is, it's more so for beauty than it is for protection. You know what I mean? Like, we put it on as women because, we don't want to get the freckles or the sunspots and all of that. We put that on to try to prevent that. But if you know that you're going to go out in the sun for a long period, like if you're gardening and stuff, I would say put on a hat. But for some people who burn very easily, if you've got that really light skin and no matter what you cover yourself with and you burn, it might be an option to put that sunscreen on. So you just got to really gauge. It's very individual. But if you don't burn that easily, and you're not worried what is going to happen, you don't need that sunscreen. And if you're going indoors, if you're just going from your house to your car and then to the office or to the shops, why would you need a sunscreen protection, right? But now these days they put it in everything. Like UV protection or whatever. So yeah, I don't think we really necessarily need it, except for beauty. Because we're, women, and we're vain. We like to look beautiful, and we like to have our skin looking young, and, all of that. And it's these movie stars and actresses and actors that come on these shows, and they say, if you try this product, it will, and then they say, you will look like me. And so we get caught up into it, and we buy their products because we want to look like them. But how often do we end up looking like that? So it's just a gimmick again. So enjoy the sun, and in moderation. Okay? Any questions? You guys look very tired. All the rows. So it's a short lecture, but a good reminder for all of us. And it's important for our bone health to remember especially that component of the vitamin D for the bone health paired with the calcium and the phosphorus. So, any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
For you to consider. Your last slideshow, and possibly others, for the sake of Papua New Guinea ministry, can I get them on a USB stick?
Yeah, sure.
I've got one upstairs. It's probably got room on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yeah. Oh.
else would you suggest instead of like so sunscreen is just like a no kind of thing?
I wouldn't say it's a no. Anyone else got answer for that? Claudia's nodding.
Yeah. Okay.
Is there an
designed when you put it on?
Yeah.
It absorbs the UV, and what it does is it drives the UV deeper into the bad UV. So when people do skin cancer, it drives it deeper into your skin. So if you look at our increase since the slip, slop, slap, and you do further research into it, we actually have more skin cancer, more on face, on arms, on legs. Your best protection is a hat. You need one, and you've got to research to use a safe sunscreen.
Yeah.
And all these 40 plus UV, you got to think about it. This is your biggest organ. It absorbs everything. You try and understand that chemical list that you are applying to your skin. Propylene glycol is used as a jet antifreeze, but women so lavishly put it on their face because it's so smooth, but it dries you up like a prune from the inside. Look at the toxins you're actually putting on your skin.
Yeah.
They're all
Yeah.
cancer causing. Women, that's why women have so much cancer, because it drains into their lymph nodes. That's why we have breast cancer, uterus cancer.
Yeah. Yeah, just eat healthy, eat your nuts, seeds, your avocado, and that will give your protection from inside out in your hat. Get some cute hats when you go out, put that on. Make sure they're big and round.